Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to my channel. If you have not already, please do like and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and if you click on that notification bell and click all, you will be notified each and every single time I do upload a video. Oh my goodness, I am very excited because today we are doing my April monthly wrap, and I tell you what, nothing, and I do mean nothing, gets me half as excited as filming my TBRs and my monthly wraps. I've already not only filmed, but you've already seen my May TBR. I'm incredibly excited to go into my birthday month with all of those, almost all of those reads. One was a bit questionable. We'll discuss its predecessor in just a moment. But today we talk about all the books that I read in the month of April, and I read many, so we don't have a lot of time for an intro. We're going to jump right on in and start off with, as I always do, putting the stats up on the screen in 3, 2, 1, go. For the month of April, I read a total of 12 books comprising of, not surprisingly, half of them 6 cozy mysteries, but also 2 dystopians, 2 LGBTIQ pluses, 1 fantasy, and 1 classic. To my age groups, I read 1 middle grade, 3 YA, and 8 adult books. To my lengths, and I read 3 3/4 tomes, 5 half tomes, and 4 novellas, totaling 3,628 pages, which roughly turns out to be around 121 pages per day in April, which is a nice stat to see as well. To my star ratings, and I was all over the shop. No 1 stars, but every other star was fulfilled, which can be good and bad, but let's discuss. Top of the list was 6 5 stars, which is fantastic. Half of the books got the maximum amount that they could get. I also had 1 4.5 star, 3 4 stars, 1 3 star, and sadly, 1 2 star, which we will talk about soon enough. Alright, so just very quickly, I want to just discuss with you all why I put stats up on the screen. I'm not a competitive person, although I am competitive with myself. And I love seeing my own stats. It's not about a pass or a fail or anything like that. It's just about seeing these numbers and statistics that are coming up. And so I love doing it. And so that's why I do these stats each and every month. I know that not everyone does, but when I first started watching monthly wraps, I saw stats being put up on the screen, and I always loved that idea and always loved stats itself. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with my efforts for the month of April. Alright, let's jump right in, and because as I say, we don't have a lot of time to get through this because I have a lot of books to get through. Here we go. Grab a nice cozy drink, something cozy and nice to eat, settle in, or grab the cleaning supplies. Some of you I know listen to my podcasts when you're on the go doing other things. Grab the cleaning supplies, or grab the sneakers and your coat if you need it, or whatever else you may need, your earphones if you're going to go for a run, whatever it is, and let's jump right on in. The first book that I read in the month of April was this book, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is a YA dystopian, and I gave this book a total of 5 stars. Yeah, this is my first dystopian of the year. I'm only reading 1 dystopian series this year, which is this one, and this first book was just absolutely fantastic. So the premise of this book is, and series, is that this is a world divided by blood, red or silver. The Reds are commoners ruled by a silver elite in possession of god-like superpowers. And to Mare Barrow, a 17-year-old red girl from the poverty-stricken Stilts, it seems like nothing will ever change. That is until she finds herself working in the Silver Palace. Here, surrounded by the people she hates the most, Mare discovers that despite her red blood, she possesses a deadly power of her own, one that threatens to destroy the balance of power. Kind of tripped all over my words there, but let's talk about my thoughts on this 5-star read. As I say, this is my only dystopian series of the year, and boy am I glad I picked this one. I know there has been a lot of hype over the series, so I was intrigued to see what I thought, but I get it now. At least with this first book, it deserves the hype it gets. I really enjoyed following Mare and watching her navigate her way as a Red, working in the palace and coming into her powers. The ending was so thrilling too. Definitely a dystopian, and one that has begun just as solidly as Divergent, The Selection, or The Hunger Games, which is a very high recommendation coming from myself, because I loved all of those books in those dystopian series. I cannot wait to read book 2, and I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. It was a great start to my dystopian reads for 2024. Well, when we start a series, it's also fitting that the next book would help me to complete a series, and it certainly did. The next book that I read was this book, King's Rising, which is book number 3 in the Captive Prince trilogy. So 3 out of 3, the final book, and it's helped me to cross the Captive Prince trilogy off of my SAS list, given that I first read book 1, Captive Prince, in 2020. It has taken me a very, very, very long time to get through this trilogy, but I'm glad that I have now fully seen it through. So I consider this to be an adult, it's tough to say, an adult fantasy, I guess. Really hard to say. Adult fantasy LGBTIQ+. I would not call it a romance, so don't think it is. But anyway, let's talk about the premise. So the premise of book 3 is that Daminos of Achelos has returned, his identity now revealed. Damon must face his master, Prince Leron, as Daminos of Achelos, the man Leron has sworn to kill. On the brink of a momentous battle, the future of both their countries hangs in the balance. In the south, Castor's forces are massing. In the north, the regent's armies are mobilizing for war. Damon's only hope of reclaiming his throne is to fight together with Leron against their usurpers. So to my thoughts, I'm so sorry with the way that I'm speaking at the moment. For some reason, I can't say words. And in my overly loquacious life, to quote Hermione Granger, that's kind of a bit frustrating, but that's okay. We'll keep moving. So to my thoughts on this book, first and foremost, as a reader that doesn't like leaving series unfinished, I am thrilled to finally finish this trilogy. I began in 2020. In July of 2020, I finished Captive Prince. In November of 2023, I finished Prince's Gambit. And now finally, roughly 3 years and 9 months later, I have at long last concluded the series. So there you go. I said it was a long time. It's been 3 years and 9 months since I completed book 1. But we got there. It took a while, but we got there in the end. Okay. I think that the series was good overall, and all 3 books received the same rating of 4 stars, so obviously this book also received 4 stars, if I haven't mentioned that yet, which also makes that point. It's a solid series. Is it one of my all-time faves? Not necessarily, but is it a solid series? For sure. There's a ton of character growth throughout the series, which was intriguing to follow from start to end. Book 1 shocked me as I thought it was a romance. It's anything but a romance. Book 2 shocked me as it did feel more like a romance, so it was very different to book 1. Book 3 shocked me because we get some amazing reveals at the end that I had no hint we were even going to get. So all in all, a solid 4-star series, and as for this one, King's Rising, a solid 4 stars. The next book that I read helped me to open up a new series for me by one of my all-time favourite authors. So the next book I read was this book, Dead End Detective by Amanda Flower. This is book number 1 in the Piper and Porter mystery series. It is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. I say in my Goodreads review heading, I wouldn't call it a cozy exactly, as we aren't following an amateur sleuth, but it was definitely enjoyable. So to the premise, they were the 2 girls' detective agency. Now one of them is dead and the other is suspected of murder. Darby Piper is in shock. Samantha Porter, her mentor and business partner at the 2 girls' detective agency, has died in a car crash, and it doesn't look like an accident. In fact, evidence is pointing toward Darby. So to my thoughts, really enjoyed this one. As I said, not your typical cozy in that we follow a an actual professional private eye instead of an amateur sleuth, but I still enjoyed it very much. I love Darby Piper as a protagonist and really enjoyed meeting Tate, which is Samantha's nephew. I called The Killer also, which made me happy. Truly a great read, and I'm looking forward to book number 2. Yeah, I highly recommend. We don't follow an amateur sleuth, we follow a private eye, but if you're okay with that in your cozies, I highly recommend Dead End Detective. An overwhelming 5 stars. Thank you again, Amanda Flower, for another amazing book. Speaking of amazing, I'm not going to have this series on me for much longer. I only have one book left now, but the next book that I read was the second last book in a series that I absolutely love, and that was this book, How to Save a Human by Alice Winters. This is book number 4 in the VRC Vampire-Related Crimes series, which is really tough to give an age range and genre for. Actually, the age range is not hard at all. It's an adult something. But the genre is really hard to pinpoint. I personally call it a cozy mystery with a little bit of spice, and yet we are and yet fantasy. It's like cozy mystery, fantasy, spice book. According to Goodreads, if you want to be more official, however, this is marketed as an adult male-male romance with the subgenre of vampires, paranormal, and romance and fantasy and urban fantasy and LGBT. Yeah, so anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, I liken it to a cozy. There are spicy scenes, not heavy spicy scenes, but there are spicy scenes in this series, so do be mindful of that. If I'm going to give it a chilly rating out of 5, it'd probably be like a 2, if that, out of 5, but still be mindful of that. Otherwise, despite it being a male series, I personally look upon it as a cozy series, because even though we are following these professional detectives, it feels like a cozy mystery series with some spice in it. I don't know what to say. Anyway, the premise of this 4th book in a series I'm absolutely loving, and will be so sad to conclude in May for this one, is when I meet Bentley de Grey, I'm at the lowest point in my life, because no matter how much I fight, my past won't let me escape. Bentley makes me laugh and care and love, but what does any of that mean when I'm living a lie? Things get complicated when I find out he's with the Vampire-Related Crimes Unit, the organization looking for answers about the abductions of prominent vampires, the same organization that stands in my way. My time is ticking down while I'm wound up in this role I've been forced to play, but I know that I would be drowning without Bentley by my side. So this is a dual perspective. We follow River and Bentley, and that is part of the premise from River's perspective. So to my thoughts, despite once again following 2 completely different characters in almost each book, we follow 2 completely different characters' perspectives from the vampire-related crimes unit, but I do love that because it's a small unit and we get to know everyone throughout the course of the series. Well, not just get to know everyone, because we get to know them throughout the series passively anyway, but we get to experience their perspectives, their POV, within each book. So I love that, absolutely. But yeah, I once again found that I'm loving that Alice Winters does this. It allows us to get to know everyone at the VRC. Truly enjoyed getting to know Bentley, and River was an amazing character too. There were moments when I cried a little while reading this one, so, you know, a little sappy warning, because there were some tears. Alice Winters has the ability to get me to experience all different emotions while reading her books, and this was no exception. I'm just sad I only have 1 book left in the series, and I gave this book 5 stars. And very quick spoiler for my 2025 SAS list, I will be putting another Alice Winters series on my SAS list for next year, because I can't let this author go. I need to read more of their works. But I am reading book 5 in May. Looking forward to reading book 5, not looking forward to concluding this absolutely amazing series. I highly, highly, highly recommend. The next book that I read is first book in a new series that I replaced the Coffee House Mystery series with on my SAS list. I DNF'd the Coffee House Mystery series, Cozy Mystery series halfway through, and replaced it with this one, which is called the Cruise Ship Cozy Mystery series, and book number 1 is called Starboard Secrets. It is by Hope Callahan, and it is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book an overwhelming 5 stars. Let me tell you, I went into this book with expectations, and those expectations were sky high. I was like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be like Golden Girls meets the Love Boat. Not that I really know a lot about the Love Boat, but for example, Golden Girls meets the Love Boat meets Little Things we're going to do on a cruise. This is going to be fantastic. If it's not, it's going to let me down. Not only did Hope Callahan meet my extremely high expectations, she exceeded my extremely high expectations. You need to read this book. If you're a cozy lover like I am and you want to see something different, we have a book with a protagonist who is an elderly woman who has had a very not sheltered life, but she grew up in the past where women were restricted with certain things they can do. She's now a widow, her husband has passed, and she wants to do something fun with her life. So she applied out of nowhere for a job to work as an assistant cruise director on this cruise line, and she gets the job. And it is just so fantastic following her. I highly, highly, highly recommend this first book. I cannot wait to read book 2 in May. Very quickly, the premise of this one fully is Millie Sanders' happily ever after is suddenly destroyed when her husband of 35 years comes home one day and informs her that he is leaving her for another woman. To make matters worse, the other woman happens to be her friend and hairdresser Delilah Osborne. How rude. After months of mourning and moping around the house, she stumbles upon a help wanted ad in the newspaper for the perfect job as an assistant cruise ship director. Determined to start a new life and new career, Millie boards the ship ready for a new adventure. She isn't on board the massive floating city, her new home, more than 10 minutes when a dead body is discovered near the atrium bar. So to my thoughts, I, as I said, had high expectations going into this book, having never read a cruise cozy mystery series before, nor any of Hope Callahan's works, and as I said, it exceeded my expectations. What's not to love? Millie is fantastic as an elderly sleuth and assistant cruise director. The ship itself has multiple entertaining aspects, and I thoroughly enjoyed seeing every nook and cranny. I love the friends Millie makes also. The mystery was intriguing too. Truly a different type of cozy mystery series for me, but one that I cannot wait to fly through. I see this series, if it keeps going the way it is at the moment, becoming one of my all-time favorite cozies, and I'm calling that after reading only book one, and I'm calling that this is going to be one of my all-time favorite cozies if it keeps going the way it is. An overwhelming 5 stars. The next book that I read was this book, Eggnog, Extortion and Evergreens. This is book number 14 in the Campers and Criminals Cozy Mystery series by Tonya Kappas. It is an adult cozy mystery, given that it's Campers and Criminals Cozy Mystery series. Not surprisingly, it is an adult cozy mystery and not an adult sci-fi. But anyway, and I gave this book a total of 4 stars. So the premise of this one, okay, I'm not going to give you the full premise of the book because I have so many other books to talk about, so I'm going to try and keep it brief. The premise of this series overall is that we follow Mae West. Mae West's husband is dead, and he left her, she divorced her husband. She divorced her husband, and as part of the divorce, one thing that she was given was Happy Trails Campground. The images she was shown of Happy Trails Campground looked amazing, but when she arrived, it was completely in disarray and looked absolutely horrible. So since this is the only thing May received out of the divorce, she wants to do everything she can to turn this around. One of the greatest things about this series, aside from the fact that it's very different for a cozy being set in a caravan park, which I love so much, is that we have this band of laundry club ladies who are the group of friends that Mae West hangs around with, and it's all different ladies that work at all different businesses in the area. So one of them being Dottie, is that her name? Dottie Swaggart, I believe, is her name. But anyway, who works with her at the campground. But then there are others who, like, we have the minister's wife, we have someone who works in the library, we have someone who works somewhere else. And, it's a wonderful community, and these laundry club ladies are amazing amateur sleuths. And they make no bones about it. They have this lovely exercise book or notepad, whatever you want to call it, that they pull out anytime there's a murder, and they don't even think. They just go, okay, let's start putting down the clues, and we're going to solve the case, ladies. It is that much fun, and every book is a novella. I highly recommend the series. It is amazing. So I'm just going to give you quickly my thoughts on this one. This was much better than the last few. One con I'll give, though, was that it was quite jarring. In the beginning, I had no clue what was going on. While I eventually cottoned on to what Kappas was trying to do, maybe backing up a little with an intro would have made it more seamless. Aside from that, however, I enjoyed my time with Tex and hope he becomes a regular moving forward. Despite eggnog being in the title and a Christmas tree on the cover, do not go into this book thinking it's Christmassy, as it is not, but for what it was much better than the last few, and I gave this book 4 stars. The next book, therefore, that I read was the next book in the Campers and Criminals series, Ropes, Riddles and Robberies, book number 15 by Tonya Kappas. Again, this is an adult cozy mystery series, and for this one, I gave it a total of 3 stars. So once again, I'll just quickly give you my thoughts on this one. I didn't like this one as much as the last one, and I think that's for 2 big reasons. One, I love seeing the setting of Happy Trails, and we're predominantly away from there in this one. And 2, this was a cold case, and I don't like cold cases as I don't feel as invested. Despite the investment being huge for Mae West, it just wasn't for me. Also, as we weren't at Happy Trails, we hardly see Hank or Bobby, which I didn't like. Still, I love Dottie Swaggart, as I always do. It was a good book, it just wasn't amazing, and I gave it 3 stars. And the next book that I read was my final Campers and Criminals for the month of May, Paddlers, Promises and Poison, which is book number 16. This also is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this particular one a total of 4 stars. So again, just quickly to my thoughts, I like this one and definitely feel like these books are back into an upward swing. The mystery wasn't memorable for me, but there were several character moments that I really appreciated, e.g. moments between Bobby Ray, who is Mae West's brother, and May, as well as May and her adopted mother. Intrigued to see what happens with Hank in the next one, and this book left on quite the cliffhanger too, so very intrigued to see what is going to be taking place in book number 17, but I gave this one 4 stars. The next book that I read was this book, 5 Go to Smuggler's Top, which is book number 4 in the Famous 5 mystery in the Famous 5 series. Don't know why I can't categorize Famous 5 correctly. I've been having trouble with this for a while now, so let's try that one more time. The next book that I read was 5 Go to Smuggler's Top by Enid Blyton, book number 4 in the Famous 5 series, which is a middle grade classic series. Woohoo! I got it all in one that time. Okay, I gave this book 5 stars. The premise of this one is the 5 find adventure when they spend Easter vacation at Mr. Lenoir's sinister house, Smuggler's Top. Set high above an eerie marsh, the house is honeycombed with hidden staircases and tunnels that once served as a hideaway for smugglers. When strange lights begin to appear, the 5 suspect that the tunnels are once more in use. So to my thoughts, I really love this book. I mean, being that it's a Famous 5 book that I haven't read, I read the minority of them, not the majority. It's nice to read a new, to me, Famous 5 book, and there were some hidden doorways and staircases and things like that, secret passages that came up in this book, and I love when Enid Blyton does that. Also, we meet a friend of Julian and his brothers who they go to school with, whose name is Sooty, and Sooty was a fantastic character. All in all, a fantastic book, and I gave it 5 stars, and starting in May, if you see my my May TBR, you'll know this, I am reading 2 Famous 5 books every single month from May through to the end of the year. 5 stars for book number 4. The next book that I read was this book, Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is book number 2 in the Red Queen series, which is a YA dystopian series. I read Red Queen as the first book that I read this month, and as you know, I gave that book 5 stars. I'm going to call this mini review, This is How a Series Plummets for Me. After book 1 got 5 stars, this book, book 2, got an overwhelming rating of 2 stars from me. It took a huge nosedive for me with this book. Let's just say I'll start book 3, but if it doesn't improve, I'm DNFing the series. I'm not going to say much because it will be a spoiler, but I will, because it's book 2, but I will say this much. Our characters do something that I don't like. I'm going to quickly say what it is because I don't think it's a spoiler, but you know what, let's put up a spoiler tag just in case, because anything could be deemed a spoiler in book 2, and we'll take the spoiler tag down when I'm done. This is not going to reveal anything specific, it's going to reveal a trope that's in the book. Here we go. Here's the spoiler. Okay, so this book deals with the traveling/questing trope where you don't know, which I don't like. Okay. Let me unpack that very quickly. It deals with the traveling/questing trope. I don't like this trope at all. And we are dealing with it. And I really don't like that it has to happen in a dystopian world. Because to me, it takes away from the dystopian itself. If you're going to have a dystopian, the biggest factor in a dystopian book and series is that world. If you remove yourself from the area where these dystopian things are happening, then we are no longer experiencing the dystopian. Instead, we're experiencing what I kind of feel is more like an epic fantasy or epic traveling adventure story rather than a dystopian. I did not like this. It really bothered me with book number 2 after I really loved book 1. So as I said, I'm going to start book 3. I don't promise to finish it. I really hope book 3 is better because the ending of book 2 was good, which is why I gave it 2 stars instead of 1. And I'm hoping that book 3 will be okay, but we'll see. All in all, 2 stars. It was a disappointment. The next book that I read is a standalone, and I think the only standalone I read this month, but that is this book, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I'm saying this very happily because it's been years since I wanted to read this book for the first time, and I finally have. Alright, let's quickly go through the premise of this one. My star rating first. The star rating I gave this one was 4.5 stars. The premise is Linus Baker leads a quiet life. At 40, he has a tiny house with a devious cat and his beloved records for company, and at the department in charge of magical youth, he spent many dull years monitoring their orphanages. Then one day, Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a highly classified assignment. He must travel to an orphanage where 6 dangerous children reside, including the Antichrist. There, Linus must somehow determine if they could bring on the end of days, but their guardian, charming and enigmatic Arthur Parnassus, will do anything to protect his wards. As Arthur and Linus grow ever closer, Linus must choose between duty and his dreams. Okay, I'm going to summarize my thoughts on this one because we are very quickly running out of time. I read this book over the course of 2 days. Day 1, I read up to halfway. Day 2, I read the second half. The first half, finished at the end of my day 1, was a complete letdown. While I thought the premise was wonderful, I did not like the writing style. I was not at all attached, endeared, or anything enticed to like the main character, Linus, in any way, shape, or form. I went into the second half. Something told me don't DNF, see how you go. I am so glad I did because the second half was so good that this book went from I'm halfway through and it's definitely getting 1 star to now I've gone through the second half, it's getting 4.5 stars. Fantastic stuff. If you are not happy with the first half of this book and you have DNF'd it, or if you pick it up and you're not enjoying the first half, trust me when I say, and I don't say it often, get through the slog. This is a beautifully adorable read once you get to the second half. It is worth the slog, and I don't say that often. 4.5 stars from me, and I've got the feeling I'm going to put this series, which this is was a standalone until I think this year or something. But anyway, it's now a series called The House in the Cerulean Sea series on my SAS list in 2025. But 4.5 stars from me. And the final book that I read this month, I just completed today on the 30th of April, so perfect timing, was this book, Frozen Detective by Amanda Flower. This is book 2 of 2 in the Piper and Porter mystery series, and therefore I've now closed out the Piper and Porter mystery series. It's an adult cozy mystery series, and my goodness did I love it just as much, if not more, than book number 1, by giving this one also a total of 5 stars. Very quick premise: a wealthy doctor invites many of his associates to spend a week at a great luxurious ski villa. Darby Piper, a seasoned private eye, and Tate Porter, her new partner at the detective agency, are among the guests going undercover as a romantic couple. They were hired by the doctor's much younger wife to investigate anonymous threats against her husband's life, but before long, Darby and Tate are investigating a murder instead. In short, because we're running out of time, this was fantastic, as was book 1. My only qualm is, because Hallmark, who are the publishing company, have decided not to publish anymore, which annoys me, we're not getting any more books. And the way that this ended as well set us up so well for book number 3 that never came. So I'm really, really upset that we don't have more. Let's start a petition to bring back Piper and Porter mystery series under a new publishing company and bring out book number 3. I need to see what we've set up at the end of book 2 for book 3. A fantastic series. I highly, highly, highly recommend. I gave both books 5 stars, so clearly gave Frozen Detective 5 stars. And now for everyone's favourite game that we like to call Up, 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 Up. These are all the books that I read in the month of April 2024. And as you can see, I mostly had an amazing time. I hope you did too with your April reads. Let me know in the comments below how it went for you. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading! Bye everyone!